What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Kyle and this is Analog Bebop. Earlier in the year, my family and we took a 2-week-long road trip across the United States, starting in California and ending up in the Nashville, Tennessee area, and then we'd be making our way back. I've never taken a really long road trip like this, so I was very interested to see how it was going to go, especially because I would be taking some of my work with me, working on the road, which was very interesting. But I also figured, like, this is a 2-week-long experience where I'm basically going to different areas of the country that I've never been before, and I knew that there'd be plenty of photo opportunities to come along with it, so I decided I need something versatile, I need something compact, I need something that is just made for travel. So I recruited my Mamiya 7 to come along with me with the panoramic adapter because I wanted to shoot some 35 with me as well. But yeah, so we basically loaded up the car and started driving to Arizona. We made our first stop in Lake Havasu, Arizona, which I didn't shoot any rolls here because it was just kind of like a place that we had to stop. It's basically like a college spring break town that doesn't look fun at all. I just wanted to snap some film photos and I didn't really get any vibes of doing that here. So I kept my camera in my bag, waited for the next day, because the next day we would actually be driving to Flagstaff, Arizona, which is like a really nice area. We spent one afternoon in downtown Flagstaff, which is a small little town with tons of shops and stuff, and a really good aesthetic that I enjoyed taking pictures of, as you can see here. So I was a really big fan of Flagstaff. I would definitely go back there on a separate trip. But the next day, we actually went to the Grand Canyon. And I've never actually been to the Grand Canyon before. I've heard amazing things about it, but I just figured I would, snap some photos of the big hole in the ground. It's insane how big the Grand Canyon actually is. We only saw like one portion of the whole thing, but I really enjoyed seeing this canyon. I definitely shot the most here, and I was pretty happy with how these photos turned out. There's this one photo that I really love where there's like this rocky platform that I got onto, and there was just one single small tree that is just sitting there kind of overlooking this massive canyonscape. I think it's very poetic that there's just one single tree that's there. So I really enjoyed how that photo turned out. Additionally, I knew that I had to pull out the panoramic adapter for the Grand Canyon specifically because of the grand landscape, no pun intended, that the Grand Canyon actually is. Like, I feel like it deserves that panoramic feel, that cinematic aspect ratio that really gives scale to how large this thing is. So I shot through a roll with my panoramic adapter and I was pretty happy with the results. after we saw the Grand Canyon, we actually drove back to our Airbnb for a little bit, and then that same day we actually drove up to Sedona to catch some dinner and watch the sunset, and I snapped some photos along the way. A couple days later, we made it to Tennessee, and as we were kind of crossing the border going into Tennessee, we stopped at this gas station, and it was right around like the golden hour time, and I just loved the environment that we were in. There was this really tall grass right next to the gas station and some trees in the distance that the sun was behind, and it was creating like these light rays that looked really cool. So I knew that I had to take some photos of that. So that's exactly what I did. I really love how this photo of these electrical lines and this post turned out. I just think it's a composition that just all works together, and I'm just really satisfied with how that turned out. So we stayed a couple nights in Franklin, Tennessee, which is actually really nice. And then we stayed another 2 nights in my mom's friend's house, which is actually like about 30 minutes outside of Nashville. She basically lives on a river complete with a dock on the house and a boat as well. I was very surprised of how nice this place was. But one night as the sun was going down, everything just looked super peaceful around, and I just pulled out the Mamiya 7 and took some long exposures as we're heading into blue hour. It just totally doesn't even give credit to how beautiful this landscape was and how blessed we were to be able to stay at this house for a couple days, because it was beautiful, and I was very impressed with how everything was. One of the nights that we were staying with her, we drove into Bristol, Tennessee, which is actually on the border of Virginia and Tennessee, which I thought was really interesting. But we ate dinner there, and as we were waiting for our food, I kind of like left the table with my camera and just walked down the street and got a bunch of photos, and I was really happy with how a lot of these turned out, especially this one of the burger bar. Film photographers, we already like nostalgia a lot. That is why we are literally using a format of photography that is from the past. So it's only appropriate for us to also like shooting old signs that we see, and this burger bar sign I think really stood out to me, and I just loved the contrast and all the colors that kind of popped from this restaurant on the side of the street. It just brought me back like old time diner vibes, and I was really happy with it. But overall, I was just really satisfied with the lighting of this night. The sun was starting to set as we were eating dinner, so it was only natural for lighting to look good around that time frame. After a couple more days in Tennessee, we started making our trek back to California. It is kind of weird because when you're driving for that long, it kind of becomes a blur of like what state you're actually in. So I can't remember if I was in like Colorado or Utah, but we stopped at this one gas station that was kind of in the middle of the desert, and it was one of those Love's truck stops, and it just looked really cool. The surrounding area just looked really interesting. Like not too far off from the gas station, there was like this abandoned house that was just kind of like off to the side, and I just had to take some photos of that. But then there was also just a family of deer that were just kind of like walking in the distance, and my camera doesn't do it justice, but they were actually like a lot closer than it looks like they were, which makes me wish that I kind of had a tighter lens on my Mamiya 7, but I doubt I'll ever be able to purchase one of those because everything mamiya related on eBay is just going up in price significantly. Like if I ever wanted to sell my Mamiya 7, I could probably make, well, easily I can make twice as much as what I bought it for, but I could potentially get even more than that, which is very surprising to me, and kind of tempts me to sell it in some ways, but also I love it so much. Like, how could I ever sell something that I love? On one of our last nights, we stayed at a hotel in Oklahoma City, and the scenery surrounding this hotel was beautiful. Like, it felt like we were in the middle of a canyon full of rock formations, like all around us, and I knew that this would be like the perfect opportunity to pull out my drone, and so that's exactly what I did. And then the next morning I actually woke up at 5 a.m. and I wanted to get some sunrise shots of these rock formations. So I did that, and I dragged myself out of bed at 5 a.m. and I kind of hiked up to this little ridge overlooking the hotel, and I just got some photos of the whole area that we were staying in. And on our last day, we were driving through Utah. I've never been to the Utah Salt Flats, but I've always seen photos of it, and it looks so insane. It just feels like you're on a different planet, literally. Obviously, it's basically Crate from The Last Jedi. But we went there, and it was around midday, so the sun was like probably as bright as it could be. When the sun is just blasting onto the salt flats, basically all that sunlight is reflecting back up at you, so you're getting like this top and bottom like sun blast in the face, and it's so bright. Yeah, it was really surreal to see the salt flats in person, and I'm really happy with how all these photos turned out. So that same day we actually made our way home, and it was definitely a long 2 weeks, and I don't think this video does it justice for all the things that we actually did. These photos are now memories with my family that I had on this trip that I will hold dear now. So this trip was very refreshing because like I got to be around them a lot again. So yeah, overall it was a fun trip, and definitely an exhausting one for sure, because you're in the car for like 13 hours a day basically. But it was definitely an interesting experience, and I'd totally do another cross-country road trip again, just maybe not anytime soon. But stay tuned to my channel because I have a couple more videos that are coming out very soon. And if you're looking forward to more content on this channel, then I would definitely appreciate it if you hit subscribe and hit that bell for notifications, because I'm looking to be posting a lot more often on here. My life has just been very busy, and it's been hard to push content out, especially with my current schedule. So I'm looking forward to getting feedback on this video, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Peace.